Thank you, Darren, for sharing that story. I hadn't heard that. And, I guess that particular church doesn't go by the lectionary because we just heard it again. Some people think that the message of the cross is just foolishness, but Paul says the message of the cross is foolishness to those that are perishing. But to us, and catch this part, us who are being saved, it is the power of God. Amen. Amen indeed. Well, as I was studying this week, I thought about the importance of batteries. And there was this character that was on the TV commercials a while back. He's not as popular as he once was, but I bet you've all heard of the Energizer Bunny, right? That little pink bunny with the sunglasses goes around beating the drum and keeps going and going and going. It doesn't matter whether or not it's across a desert, over mountains, or down a lowly highway. That bunny just keeps it going, right? There was even a commercial where the Energizer Bunny was on like Star Wars. What do they call that? The Death Star or whatever, fighting Darth Vader. And he just kept going and going and going. Well, that commercial is really not about that bunny, though, is it? What's it about? It's about the batteries, right? And we all know how important batteries are, especially if you've ever gone out on a cold winter's day and tried to start your car. And the battery's not good, right? What happens? You turn, well, nothing, or you turn the key to the ignition and it goes click, 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 and you go, uh-oh, uh-oh. So we know car batteries are important, but then think about all the other things that batteries are used for in our society. We really, really need a lot of good batteries, don't we? And I think about that because I've got this old laptop. I think it was one of the original ones that came out from Hewlett-Packard, like 1962 or something. And it works all right, except it always has to be plugged in because the battery won't hold the charge. So in order to use that laptop, I've got to make sure it's plugged into the power source all the time. And then there's Sunday mornings, you don't know it, but there's some Sunday mornings I'm up here and I'm really stressing because up here in the corner of my laptop where I keep all my sermon notes, there's that little percentage of battery life, and for some reason, there's Sunday mornings I walk through the door and it can be fully charged, but by the time the message comes along, it's like down to 9 or 10%. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just have to keep enough battery to go. And then, everybody, I don't have my Fitbit on today, but, your Fitbits, it's important to track your steps every day, right? So you get that little message that blows up your watch and buzzes and vibrates and everything and says, woo, made your goal. But every 3 stinking days, I gotta put it on the battery charger. And then this watch that I'm wearing today, I just had to have a new battery put in this watch. My son Brian actually got me this watch. It's a Lamborghini watch. I've never heard of a Lamborghini watch, but it's supposed to be really high speed and everything. But I noticed a while back, that was an unintentional pun. So anyway, I tried to put it on a couple months back and it wouldn't work. And I thought, oh, it's the battery. So I had to go and get the battery changed out. We all know how important it is to have a strong battery, to make sure that battery is fully charged. Because when you got weak batteries, it causes problems, doesn't it? And the battery is the power source that drives all these things that we're so used to. But the battery's only half the problem, right? Now let's go back to that car thing for a minute. Because, there's been times when I've gone out to the car and I've done the whole thing and click, 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 click. That's all I've heard. So the first assumption is, the battery's weak, right? Well, there's something a little bit more to that, right? There's been times when I've assumed it's the battery, so get out the wrenches and you got to Nowadays, especially, it used to be in the good old days, you could get to the battery because it was right there. But now you got to take the whole fan assembly off, the starter, the alternator, and 16 other hoses and pipes and everything else just to take the battery out. So after I get all through with that, I get the new battery, put it in, hook it up, and turn it. Click, 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 click. Oh, man, you got to be kidding me. So then I figure out, well, I know it's not the battery, so it's got to be something else, right? And so I'm looking in there and I'm figuring it out, and I notice this white powdery stuff that's on all the cables. You ever experience that? That white powdery stuff. Now there's all kinds of little home remedies you can do, but you can pour baking soda on it, or Coca-Cola works really well. Just think about that. If you like Coca-Cola, it'll take corrosion off battery cables. What's it doing to your stomach? Just saying. But you gotta have a good connection, right? You can't allow the cables that are connected to the power source corrode. You gotta have a good connection in order to make it all work. And as Paul said, church, this morning in his scriptures, that connection, that power source is the cross of Jesus Christ. Amen. You can't go cutting the cross off the top of the church steeple. It might be foolishness to some, but to us who are the redeemed, to us who are being saved, to us who have and hold on to our faith, it's the power source. And you got to be connected to the good power source. It's how we understand God's amazing, unconditional, reckless, relentless love for us. It's a reminder of God's free gift of grace, not because we deserve it, because simply He loves you. When we look at the cross, those are the powerful reminders that should come to our minds if we're connected. If we're not hearing that click, 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 click sound in our lives. And as followers of God, we have to make sure that our connection stays strong, that we don't let it get corroded and rob us of the power that God gives us through Jesus Christ. In our text this morning, Paul's writing his letter to the church at Corinth, and he's talking a lot about wisdom and a lot about the truth of the cross of Jesus Christ, but he says this: to those who are being saved. Think about those words. What didn't he say?
Those who are saved.
Those who are saved. Salvation is a process, and if you let those cables to the source, your battery, get corroded, you're not being saved. You're not being transformed. You're cutting yourself out from the power of God's Holy Spirit working in your life, refining you, getting rid of all that garbage that holds you back from realizing the full power of Jesus Christ in your life. The transforming power that can take your worst defeat and turn it into a victory. That can take your worst day and make it your best. You got to keep connected and make sure that the connection is not corroded. What's that mean? What's that word foolishness mean? Well, I guess as Darren shared in his story, some people they think the cross is foolish and it's just an embarrassment. What about us who are being saved? If we've got that strong connection to the source, maybe it means taking the words of Jesus a little more serious in our lives. Those words that you go, what? Love your enemies. Turn the other cheek. Forgive 7 times 77. Jesus, what are you talking about? I can't do that. Well, you can't do that. But if you're connected to the power source, you can make progress towards that. If you've got a strong connection, you can do it. You can live in a way that the world says is foolish because of the power of the cross. Well, let's hear these words again. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. Obviously, Paul's pointing to what the cross symbolizes. Again, all those blessings, the sacrifice, the love that God has for us. And if we're connected to that, it's not foolishness for us. It's not like the Jews who demanded signs and the cross became a stumbling block. It's not like the Greeks who chased after wisdom. To us, it's God's love and power revealed. To us who are being saved, it's redemption. To us, it's a reminder that no matter what situation we face in this world, Christ is the answer. Jesus is always the answer. Some may say it's foolish, but if you believe and you're in the process of being saved, then you know that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. If you're connected to the power source and you're building that relationship with God, then you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jesus is the author, the perfecter, and the finisher of the faith. You know in your heart of hearts that Jesus is our high priest who offers a glorious gift of forgiveness for all of our sins and transgressions. You know in your heart of hearts that Jesus is the cornerstone of life itself. I got a yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Whew, tough crowd this morning. You know that. So while some would say it's foolish, we say it's victory. We say it's power. We say it's love. We say it's transformation. But you know what? You got to be hooked to the right power source too. That's the thing about batteries. Let me just tell you a little story. So you all know that every spring, about end of March, beginning of April, depending on how Easter falls, my brother comes down from northern Illinois, and we go out and we try to catch us as many fish as we can. On Patrick Henry and over at Boone and over at South Holston and go over to Cherokee. And our sole mission there is to catch as many fish as we can. Now to do this, you got to have the right equipment, right? And one of the frustrating things about boats, if you own a boat, you know that it's a hole in the water that you just continually pour money into. Right? So last year, we're out there and we're fishing, and I've made sure I've charged the battery all stinking night long. It's all good. We get out there, we fish for an hour, the wind starts pushing us back, and nothing. We've traveled 45 minutes to an hour to get to Cherokee, and we fished an hour to have dead batteries on the trolling motor. How frustrating is that? Well, so this year, we're piddling around, we're making sure the connection's right, we've taken it all apart, it's running in the driveway just fine. We get it out the next day, it's fully charged, connections are good, get out there about an hour, I'm beside myself at this point. So I'm thinking there's got to be something wrong. It's got to be a bad battery, something. So we take it over here to, I don't know, AutoZone or whatever one it is up on Fort Henry, and get the guy to come out there. You know, they've got those guys now. They come out with their little battery tester. He says, you got a bad battery. Well, when we're taking the batteries out, the thing that I notice is, when I had gone to the Walmart to get me some good batteries, I got the wrong batteries. I learned real quick, you just can't use a normal car battery in your boat. It doesn't work. Because it goes... Alright? So, problem solved. But how many people in life think the cross is foolish because they've got the wrong battery? They're trusting in something that's not grounded in the truth. They're trusting in maybe a relationship, and their whole energy is built upon that relationship they have with that other person that's going to be their Savior. Maybe it's the battery that consumes your life is some type of addiction. and we all think of the big ones, but I mean, shopping and eating and things like that are addictions. Exercise, although it's a healthy thing, can become an addiction. How many of us trust in that? That's our source. That's our battery to get us through life. And then when those times of trials and trouble and everything else comes, what happens? Exactly. Thank you, Susan. You're tracking with it. Right, exactly, because we're connected to the wrong battery. So we got to have the right battery. Now, if you know anything about electricity, you got to have the right battery. You can't let things get corroded and all that. But also, the way electricity works is there's alternating current and then there's direct current, right? And depending on what kind of current you got going, one's better than the other, I guess, in some ways. But you know how many people, not only do they have the wrong battery, but they're connected up to the alternating current in their lives. They haven't fully bought into the whole Jesus thing. You know, I always tease people that complain and fuss about how many times we have communion or something along those lines, and I always say, yeah, I know, you wouldn't want to get any Jesus on you at church. I know, sometimes I just don't have any tact, and that's an SPRC function to make sure I don't get myself in too hot water. Anyway, you got to make sure it's not alternating current. How many times do we just, you know, it's Sunday morning, maybe you had some special event and you went out with your friends and celebrated a birthday or something, or went to the big game down at Neyland Stadium and you got home late and you go, oh man, I'm just going to sleep in today. I'll watch me a little preacher on TV. That's how I get my Jesus today. That's alternating current, folks. I feel like it. Or how many times do you know you should pray, but you know it gets kind of tiresome, and you don't want to pray at the restaurant because it might be embarrassing and all. Somebody might say something or be offended, so you don't pray. And you only pray when you're in trouble. Well, that's alternating current. Or reading the Bible. I just don't have time today to read through my devotion. I just skip it today. Or giving, or serving, you name it. It's all based on one thing, isn't it? How I feel about it. Do I have time? Is it a priority? How many Christians are living off alternating current? We gotta have the direct current in our lives. You know, there's one thing that God desires more than anything else. You know what that is? You. You. He wants to go through life with you. He doesn't want you to go through things alone. He doesn't want you to be connected to the wrong battery that's going to wear out, get weak, let you down in life. He wants to be in an intimate relationship with you. And if your life is grounded in Jesus Christ and His truth, and His sacrifice for you, then you're working at it. It's not foolishness at all. It's the greatest gift that we've ever been given. Jesus Christ and the cross is a bridge between us and God, so that we can live the way Jesus wants us to live, the way God intended us to live. You know, if you're connected to the wrong source today, or maybe your cables are corroded, or maybe you just got the wrong battery, you've got an opportunity this morning as we come forward to communion to just spend some time at the altar and talk to God about it. To make sure that you got the right power source. You're as close to God as you want.